What's up, losers? Today I've got some more intriguing posts from r/fatlogic to check out and share my various opinions on. This is episode 61 in the fatlogic series. And I'm locked and loaded, ready to unleash some devastating facts and logic on these fat activists. So without further delay, let's get into it.
I guess it's good that the hospital is doing weight bias training, but there is not one entry on this list that wouldn't inspire me to violence. Understanding and eliminating weight bias. Examples of supportive language: old, overweight, obese; new, person/patient of size; old, willpower; new, commitment; old, good/bad; new, what works for you; old, diet; new, eating style; old, exercise regimen; new, activity style/physical activity; old, expectations; new, discoveries; old, prescribe; new, negotiate; old, limit, restrict; new, choice, experience; old, ideal weight; new, healthy weight. Classic example of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. The problem is that medical training/culture actively prevents doctors from adequately treating fat patients. Calling in fat a person of size means frick all if you still won't let them into your office.
Ha ha ha. So let me get this straight. Against the odds, fat activist kooks have actually managed to convince a hospital to introduce weight bias training. And they're still not happy. Man, do these people love to complain. Honestly, this just goes to show that you shouldn't bother trying to compromise with fat activists. It's futile. They don't want any of your solutions. They want to perpetuate their victim complex. If you try to do something to address their concerns, they'll just find new concerns. Because fat activists are basically professional whiners. If they didn't have something to moan about, what would be left to get them out of bed in the morning? But more importantly, by trying to find a middle ground on stuff like this, when you were in the right to begin with, you're bringing yourself down to their level for no real gain, and making yourselves look like a bunch of clowns in the process. If we're being real, this is just embarrassing. You can't tell me that a single one of those proposed new terms is better than the original in any way. Some of them are just cringy, like person of size and eating style instead of diet. But some of them completely undermine the whole purpose of having professional medicine. If you're going to replace good and bad with what works for the patient, why would the patient even bother to seek medical advice? They already know what works for them. But if that happens to be 10 cheeseburgers and a bucket of Coke for lunch, they could really benefit from a respected authority telling them why that is harmful to their health. Similarly, for negotiate, as opposed to prescribe, what is to be negotiated? Exactly. I don't go to see a doctor to negotiate. I go to get a professional opinion about what's wrong, and what can be done about it. Because I don't know shit about medicine. If there are multiple options with differing advantages and drawbacks, then sure, the doctor can inquire as to which the patient would prefer. But it's not a negotiation. If the doctor prescribes something you don't want to take, then don't take it. But if you're determined to convince the doctor that, in spite of their training and expertise, you know better, then don't bother going in. Because that just sounds like a massive waste of time for all involved. So yeah, in summary, medical professionals, you have the right of this. Don't bother trying to be more accommodating to fat activists. Because it's basically impossible to do that without forfeiting your credibility. And because they won't appreciate your efforts regardless. Or to put it more crudely, don't roll around in the mud with pigs. Because you'll both get dirty. And the pigs will like it a lot more than you will.
All y'all are fatphobic. Gym gays think they don't have body dysmorphia. or anorexia, but y'all do. Thinking thinness equates to femininity is trans/fatphobic. If y'all don't have fat friends, take pics with your fat friends, y'all fatphobic. Having an ED like bulimia is fatphobic.
Okay, so, while this attitude of, everyone is fatphobic, everything you do, say, or even think, is shaped by fatphobia, isn't exactly surprising to see, that doesn't make it any less obnoxious. Like, these fat activists really do want to police your whole life, just to make themselves feel better about their unhealthy weight. What clownery SMH. To respond to the examples the post gives one by one. No, gym gays don't have body dysmorphia. Or anorexia, at least, not in general. Most just want to be fit and healthy. They enjoy physical exercise, and they have reasonable, attainable goals about how they would like their body to look. Sure, some percentage of gay people who go to the gym will have body dysmorphia or anorexia. But some percentage of the general population has these conditions too. Assuming that someone fits into this category just because they are gay and enjoy going to the gym is laughably unfounded, and beyond that, even for those who do have body dysmorphia or an ED, this does not make them fatphobic. It just means that they have a troubled relationship with their own body. In other words, it's not about you. Stop minding other people's business. And show a little compassion. Next up, thinking thinness equates to femininity is not fatphobic or transphobic. Everybody is going to have their own conception of their personal gender identity. And frankly, I don't think that that's anyone else's business. Some women, trans or otherwise, are going to associate their femininity with thinness, while others will lean more towards voluptuous curves. One version of femininity is not better than the other, because femininity is not a fixed concept, and differing interpretations and preferences are equally valid, as long as everybody is happy, and they're not doing anything unhealthy or dangerous to achieve the desired body ideal. I don't see that it's anyone's place to impose their notions of gender on someone else, or shame them for wanting to present in a certain way. As for not having fat friends, or not taking pictures with fat friends, while these could be indicative of someone having a bias against, or aversion to, fat people, it is not reasonable to make this assumption without further supporting evidence. Because there are other things to consider. Some people just don't have that many friends. And this lowers their chances of having fat friends regardless of their feelings on fat people. Some people might have less access to fat people because of the nature of their work and/or hobbies. And this could equally explain why they don't happen to have any fat friends. Like, if you are a pro athlete or something, where exactly are you going to meet fat people to make friends? In the queue at McDonald's. It makes perfect sense that some people are just less likely to have fat friends. And this does not, in and of itself, tell you anything about their feelings towards fat people. Failing to take photos with fat friends equally requires further proof before it can be used to label someone as fatphobic. Maybe they just don't post many pictures in general. Maybe they only post pictures of themselves. Or maybe they worry that their fat friend might be uncomfortable having pictures of them posted online. If you want to find out, you have to communicate. Assuming the worst and attacking people for it is a recipe for disaster as far as friendships are concerned. And lastly, having an ED like bulimia is fatphobic. Yeah, I don't even want to dignify that with a response. But I guess I'll have to. People don't choose to have an ED, it sucks. And it's a way of coping with deep-seated, unresolved psychological issues. It is not, I repeat, not, a commentary on you, or your body. So for frick's sake, stop centering yourself, and your ego, in other people's emotional turmoil. Okay, that is all.
Some of us are here today simply because our genetics are really good at surviving famine. What we're not good at is keeping lean, but our ancestors survived famine because of how good our bodies are at converting foods to fat and keeping our hunger cues turned on.
Plus, calories in, calories out only works if the body works normally, and mine certainly does not. So infuriating.
I read that for many Americans, it is a biological response from the Great Depression. It's evolution.
Epigenetics at play, since most adults are only a generation or two removed from the Great Depression. That completely tracks.
Darwinian medicine. I wish more people would look into this. Hundreds of years of actual famine equals why some people experience this. Genetics matter.
I know it's a joke, but my Irish genetics really do react like the Brits are gonna starve me out. And I must potato.
Okay, so I mainly just included this one because it was funny. Like the whole circus troupe came out of the woodwork for this one, haha. But yeah, I don't know that there's much need for me to go in depth as to why this post is nothing more than a smorgasbord of delusional copes. So I guess I'll just throw out a couple of random comments so that I can say that I've done my part in responding. 1. Did the first person really suggest that their ancestors survived famine, at least in part, due to them having better hunger cues than their contemporaries? Like, I don't think they're really getting the whole famine concept. The whole problem in a famine is that people don't have any food. You don't need some ultra-sensitive hunger cues to tell you that you need to eat after 10 days on a single crust of bread, haha. 2. That my body doesn't work properly excuse really is a handy one, isn't it? You could use it for all kinds of things if you think about it. Like, why did you rob that bank, Skelly? Oh, sorry, but it wasn't my fault, you see. I had no control at the time. My body just doesn't work properly. Easy. 3. Real classy to attribute your present life of gluttony and excess to the deprivation people suffered in the Great Depression and the Irish potato famine. That totally checks out, and isn't a shameful manipulation of historical mass suffering in the slightest. Very cool, guys. Keep it up. But yeah, the post is funny enough in its own right, and I would probably only take away from that by continuing to ramble on about it any longer. At any rate, what do you think? Do hospitals need to do weight bias training? Are gym gays, ED sufferers, and people with mainly thin friends fat phobic? Are people fat today because of the evolutionary impact of the Great Depression and the Irish potato famine? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll force you to use all of those revised supportive terms from the first post, and you'll sound like a total idiot and get horribly roasted for it. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.